Hi everyone, I'm Gabriel, and this is the beginning of something I've always wanted to do. I'm gonna take you behind the scenes as I buy, sell, and ship Pokemon, Magic, and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Let's get started. So, my story: I started off with my own collection. I went to a card shop. I said, "Hey, I want to sell my collection," and everyone probably has a similar story, but they said, "We'll give you like 40%." And I scratched my head and I said, "There's no way." The guy, he kind of laughed. He was like, "Well, if you want 100%, just go ahead and sell them yourself." And I took that to heart, and I was like, I could sell them myself, and I did, and I got 100% of market. And I said, "Hey, this could be like a real business here." As far as me just loving the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, and Pokemon, I could actually turn this to a business. If people are buying cards for 40%, 50%, and selling them like for 100%, I was like, this is crazy, right? But this was a couple years ago, so things have changed obviously since then, right? We all know the Pokemon market has gone crazy. Yu-Gi-Oh has kind of stayed the same, mostly just for competitive players. A lot of competitive cards get bought. Magic is crazy for the competitive side of things. Even casual, Magic is very casual um, with all their different formats and Magic. Um, so yeah, that's kind of like where I started with my own collection. I only put about $200, maybe 300 of like just out of pocket to get started, and I've been doing this for about a month now, and I've profited about 3,000. Um, and I didn't think it was like too crazy, right? Until I started talking to other people. I started watching other YouTube videos of people getting started, and they're nowhere close to where I'm at in the first month when they started, and that's 3,000 profit. Um, of course, that's not including some fees and things like that Tcg Player has, but regardless, that's still insane and crazy to think about. And so I wanted to kind of let other people know, kind of give them some background and information about maybe how to get started so they could have that same takeoff that I did. Hopefully, that's the goal. I want to kind of just educate people and like percentages where you should be buying at, where you should not be buying at. And I think your numbers is like the number one most important thing in any business. Um, if anyone that does this tries to tell you that your numbers are not important, that is not true. Maybe they just love it and they don't care what percentage they buy at. That's not me. If I'm not going to make money on it, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy a card to lose money. Now there's certain circumstances. If you know that a card is going to be going up, then maybe buying it at the 80% makes sense, because in reality, when it does go up, it's like you really only paid 50-60% for that card. But the market always changes, right? I mean, one week, well, right now, specifically for Pokemon, everything's going up, everything's booming. But there are some cards that kind of stay the same, some cards that do drop a little bit by a couple dollars. So I think you have to kind of, what I do, I calculate that into my ROI, right? I always take into consideration that that card can drop, so I always buy at a little bit, maybe 1 or 2% lower, if I can, just to kind of count that in there. You want to give yourself room. Obviously, the lower percentage you could buy at, the better. I know people right now that buy collections on the regular for 50-60% easily all day long. Obviously, those aren't very liquid cards. They're not, the $100, $200, $300 cards, even though they do get some for that amount too. But they're bigger collections. You're buying hundreds of cards at a time. Most people selling their collections, they will sell to you because, for one, they don't want to piece it out. It just takes longer to sell to a couple hundred individual people and more riskier to do that. More than likely, people just want to deal with one person and they just sell their whole lot, and they get a big chunk of money for that. Even though it's not what they're asking price, they're still going to get cash. So more than likely, people will do it. And it's proven. It happens all the time, every single day. People buy collections for 60, 65, sometimes 70%. That's where I try to aim for. I usually buy for around 65%. And that's kind of like where I need to be, right? It's not just because I'm lowballing people. Those are the numbers, right? And if you have one employee, forget about it. And you probably have to buy closer to 50%. And I think that's why a lot of these, game stores, LGSs, they buy for that 40, 50%, because when you crunch the numbers, you do the math, that's where they have to be at. And they have their overhead, right? Like they have their rent, their utility bills, and now they have to pay their employees. They're not even paying themselves, really. So they have to kind of be at that 40, 50%. So I think it's important for people to know their numbers for a business, and especially for you to grow and scale. And I think since I know my numbers so well on where I need to be at for each card that I buy, that's why I'm scaling so quickly. So maybe the next video I'll talk more about. I have an ROI spreadsheet, and I will go over that. I think everyone in this business needs to have their own spreadsheet for their business on where they need to be at on their buy-in prices, or else you could be losing money and not even know it. You have so much of the income coming from all these different sales. Sometimes it's impossible to keep track of, right? Of exactly how much you made from each sell. I mean, it has it on Tcg Player. You could look it up if you really wanted to go through your orders, but it's very time consuming. So I think it's just best just from when you buy it, you know what you're getting into, and you're never going to lose money. And if you do, I mean, that card would have to drop like 50%, and that's pretty rare. It does happen sometimes, very rarely, but you always want to protect yourself. Buy at a good percentage. I want to make the new norm around 65%. That's where it used to be honest. And it's just gone crazy right now. But for resellers, especially like online resellers like myself that do TCG, eBay, that 65% is really where we need to be at. For highly liquid cards, you could probably justify going up to 80. But yeah, so thank you for watching. If you kind of like this kind of stuff, go ahead and subscribe. I'll be making videos all the time, keep people updated on how I do things. Like I want to make a video on how exactly like I do my inventory, my conditioning, how I have that set up, because that could be kind of complicated and very overwhelming and confusing if you're just starting out. Exactly like how to set it up, where to put things, how to label things, just everything. There's so much things that a lot of people don't go over, and a lot of these online TCG reseller channels or videos. And I want to go over all that stuff with you guys, because that's where your profits like really come through, is you being very productive. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. See you next time.